It's September 5, 1983, and the Dallas Cowboys are locked in a heart-pounding showdown with the Washington Redskins on Monday Night Football. The air crackles with anticipation as millions of Americans hang on every play, their eyes glued to their screens. Then, in a fleeting moment, Howard Cosell, the voice that redefined sports broadcasting, utters 6 words that ignite a firestorm. That little monkey gets loose, doesn't he? In an instant, a career that weathered death threats, championed civil rights, and reshaped how the world watched sports crumbles under a tidal wave of outrage. How did a man who stood shoulder-to-shoulder with Muhammad Ali, defied network executives, and gave voice to the silenced fall so far, so fast, who stood by him when the world turned its back? And what does his story tell us about the power of words in a divided nation? This is the tale of Howard Cosell, a Brooklyn kid with a razor, sharp tongue, a fearless heart, and a legacy as polarizing as it is profound. Buckle up, because this journey is as bold, raw, and unfiltered as the man himself. Born Howard William Cohen on March 25, 1918, in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, Cosell emerged from humble roots. His parents, Isidore and Nellie, were Jewish immigrants who fled the pogroms of Eastern Europe, seeking safety and opportunity in America. Isidore scraped by as an accountant, his ledger books a testament to their modest life, while Nellie managed the home, pouring her energy into raising Howard and his siblings. Both parents believed fiercely that education was the only path out of hardship, a conviction they drilled into their son from an early age. That belief became Howard's North Star, shaping his relentless drive. Before he turned 3, the family packed up and moved to Brooklyn, New York, plunging into a vibrant, chaotic world of immigrants chasing the American dream. Brooklyn's crowded streets, alive with the sounds of Yiddish, Italian, and Irish accents, were a crucible for Howard's formative years. As a Jewish kid in a tough neighborhood, he faced taunts, slurs, and prejudice, learning early that words could cut deeper than fists. While other boys settled scores with punches in alleyways, Howard fought with books, quotes, and a quick wit that left opponents speechless. His confidence, already teetering on cocky, was taking shape, a trait that would both elevate him to stardom and haunt him in his darkest moments. At Alexander Hamilton High School in Brooklyn, Howard's gift for words found a stage. As sports editor of the school paper, he didn't just report scores. He penned bold, biting opinions that called out bad coaching, sloppy play, and anything else he deemed unworthy. At just 16, he was already a provocateur, his sharp editorials earning admiration from teachers and resentment from classmates. Some couldn't stand his brash style, whispering that he thought too highly of himself, but no one could ignore him. That mix of brilliance and divisiveness became his hallmark, a preview of the polarizing figure he'd become. By the time he enrolled at New York University, Howard was laser-focused on carving out a name for himself. He earned a bachelor's degree in English literature and a law degree by age 21, a rare feat that showcased his relentless ambition. But success wasn't enough. He didn't want a quiet life behind a desk or a steady paycheck. He craved influence, a platform, a voice that would echo far beyond Brooklyn's gritty streets, resonating with a nation. In the late 1930s, during his time at NYU Law School, Howard made a pivotal decision. He changed his last name from Cohen to Cosell. He claimed it honored his grandfather's original Polish surname, altered at Ellis Island when the family arrived in America. But the move was also strategic. In an era where Jewish names could close doors in professional fields, Cosell wanted to stand out, not blend into the background. He wasn't just building a career, he was crafting a legacy, one that would demand attention and refuse to be ignored. That ambition carried him into World War II, where he served as a major in the U.S. Army's Transportation Corps from 1942 to 1945. Stationed at the New York port of embarkation, he coordinated the movement of troops and supplies across the Atlantic, a stakes role where a single misstep could delay entire missions, costing lives and resources. At just 25, he was one of the youngest officers in the position, proving he could handle pressure with calm precision. His ability to thrive under stress, to make split-second decisions with clarity, would later define his broadcasting career, where every live moment demanded quick thinking and unshakable nerve. It was during the war that Howard met Mary Edith Abrams, known as Emmy, a WAC sergeant. Military regulations forbade officers from dating enlisted personnel, but Howard, never one for rules, marched into a general's office with paperwork in hand and secured permission to court her. That audacity defined him. Obstacles were challenges to be outsmarted, whether in love or work. They married in 1944 in a Brooklyn judge's chambers, defying Emmy's conservative Presbyterian family's skepticism about their union. Their 46-year marriage became the bedrock of Howard's life, with Emmy as his emotional anchor, the one person who could temper his fiery personality and keep him grounded. After the war, Cosell returned to New York and opened a law practice in Manhattan, representing high-profile clients like baseball legend Willie Mays, earning $25,000 to $30,000 a year, a substantial sum in the 1940s. He was poised for a comfortable life. But comfort felt like a cage. He paced his office, narrating imaginary sports games and delivering courtroom speeches to empty chairs. Friends found it odd, even eccentric. Howard saw it as destiny, a sign that his true calling lay elsewhere. In 1953, destiny knocked. ABC Radio's Hal Neal offered him a chance to host a show where Little League kids interviewed Major League Baseball players. It was unpaid, but Howard leaped at the opportunity, juggling law by day and radio by night. For nearly 3 years, he earned nothing from the gig, but he didn't care. It was his way into broadcasting. The show was lighthearted, a feel-good segment, but a moment with Yankees outfielder Hank Bauer changed everything. Bauer casually criticized his manager, Casey Stengel, on air, and the comment exploded into headlines across New York. Howard realized the power of unscripted truth, how a single moment of candor could ripple through the media and captivate an audience. That lesson would shape his career, driving him to seek out the raw, unfiltered stories behind the games. When ABC President Robert Pauley challenged him to find a sponsor for a new sports segment, Cosell delivered, securing funding and launching Speaking of Sports, a radio show that ran for decades. By 1956, he abandoned law for good, diving headfirst into sports reporting for ABC. Unlike the polished, play-it-safe broadcasters of the era, Cosell came out swinging. He didn't toss softball questions or shy away from controversy. In one early interview, he asked a basketball player if his teammates avoided passing to him because he shot too much, a question that stunned listeners for its bluntness. He listened intently, pouncing on evasive answers with follow-ups that cut to the core. He tackled taboo topics like race, politics, and war, refusing to stick to sports, as critics demanded. Athletes like Tommy Smith, who raised a fist for black power at the 1968 Olympics, trusted Cosell because he let them speak freely and treated their views with respect, never reducing them to stereotypes. Fans were divided. Some loved his honesty, hailing him as a truth teller. Others hated his nerve, calling him arrogant and overbearing. He was dubbed the most hated man in sports by detractors and the conscience of American sports broadcasting by admirers. His sharp, nasal voice and iconic phrase, "This is Howard Cosell, telling it like it is," became unforgettable, etched into the minds of millions. No relationship defined Cosell's career more than his bond with Muhammad Ali. In 1964, when Cassius Clay became Muhammad Ali and embraced Islam, the media and public recoiled. Newspapers refused to use his new name, TV anchors stuck to Clay, dismissing his identity. Cosell didn't. On national television, he called him Muhammad Ali, loud and clear, despite hate mail pouring into his mailbox and risks to his career. "It's his name, and I'll call him what he wishes," he said, drawing from his own experience as a Jewish kid who'd faced prejudice in Brooklyn streets. When Ali refused the Vietnam War draft in 1967, losing his boxing license and title, Cosell went further, calling the government's actions inhuman and illegal. Sponsors threatened to pull ads, and networks urged him to back off, but Cosell doubled down. He saw the hypocrisy. Wealthy white draft dodgers went unpunished, while Ali, a black man standing on principle, was vilified as a traitor. Their on-screen chemistry was electric, a mix of humor and heart that captivated audiences. Ali teased Cosell's toupee, calling him Howard Cos, Mel, or threatening to knock him out just for fun, while Cosell fired back with dry sarcasm, once saying, "You'd still be in poverty if I hadn't made you." Their banter felt like a boxing match itself, raw and real, but beneath the jokes was deep respect. When Ali was banned from boxing, stripped of his livelihood, Cosell kept him on air, giving him a platform to discuss his faith, his stance on the war, and his humanity. In a 1968 Houston Astrodome interview with Ali sweating from a workout, Cosell didn't focus on fights. He asked about the man, his beliefs, his struggles. Those moments helped shift public perception, turning Ali from a villain into a hero. Ali later said Cosell gave him a voice when no one else would, while Cosell credited Ali with making him more than just a broadcaster. He became part of the story, a partner in pushing America to confront race, religion, and war. Cosell's voice became a cultural force. During the 1973 Joe Frazier-George Foreman fight, his call, "Down goes Frazier, down goes Frazier, down goes Frazier," captured the shock of Foreman's upset, becoming the most iconic line in boxing history. It wasn't just a call. It was emotion, disbelief, and history distilled into 3 words. Cosell didn't just narrate sports. He made viewers feel them, transforming games into stories of triumph and tragedy. His work with Ali pushed America to face uncomfortable truths about race, religion, and war, not with anger but with honest conversation. He wasn't afraid to call out bad behavior or criticize poor performance, even when fans told him to stick to sports. His willingness to tackle tough issues made him a lightning rod, loved and loathed in equal measure. In 1970, ABC executive Roone Arledge took a gamble that changed television forever. He hired Cosell for Monday Night Football, pairing him with former football stars Frank Gifford and Don Meredith. Cosell wasn't a former player or a traditional announcer. He was a loud, opinionated lawyer with a voice that demanded attention. The NFL, used to controlling broadcast booths, opposed the hire, but Arledge held firm, refusing to let the league dictate his team. The result, ratings soared 50% in the first season, turning Monday Night Football into a cultural phenomenon. By 1971, with Keith Jackson replaced by Gifford, the trio's chemistry, Cosell's drama, Meredith's humor, Gifford's calm made the show must-watch TV. ABC charged $65,000 for a 30-second ad, a fortune at the time. Cosell's phrase, "he could go all the way," turned touchdowns into epic tales, its slow, dramatic delivery copied by broadcasters like ESPN Chris Berman. The booth wasn't always harmonious. Cosell and Meredith's on-air clashes, sometimes fueled by vodka, were legendary. In 1974, rumors swirled that both were tipsy during a broadcast, but fans ate it up, loving the unscripted chaos. Viewers picked sides, Team Cosell or Team Meredith, sparking debates in bars and living rooms across the country. Arledge leaned into the chaos, knowing conflict drove ratings. Cosell's feuds extended beyond the booth. He battled sports columnist Dick Young, who called him Howie the Fraud, and tried to sabotage his interviews with shouted obscenities. Cosell fired back, calling Young a right-wing cultural illiterate. Their war wasn't just personal, It was a clash between newspapers and television, the old guard versus the new. Cosell also clashed with broadcaster Chris Economaki, who mocked his enormous and monumental ego. Cosell held grudges, bringing up slights years later, even at a Christmas party, unable to let go of perceived betrayals. Cosell coined the term jokocracy, criticizing the trend of hiring ex-athletes as broadcasters, a jab that strained relations with Gifford and Meredith. He believed commentary should be thoughtful and informed, not just casual banter from former players. His stance sparked debate about what sports broadcasting should be, but it didn't win him friends. Beneath the bravado, Cosell was deeply insecure. He constantly asked producers if colleagues were plotting against him, once comparing his negative press to Frank Sinatra's. His bold persona was a shield, hiding a fear that he wasn't truly accepted, that his success could vanish overnight. At home, Cosell was a different man. He was devoted to Emmy, who followed him to games and interviews, a constant presence by his side. "I wouldn't cross the Triborough Bridge without Emmy," he said, and he meant it. They raised two daughters, Jill and Hilary, and he read them poetry by Keats and Shelley, his voice soft and tender, a far cry from his TV persona. Emmy's death in 1990 shattered him, stripping away the anchor that kept him grounded. His health, already strained by years of drinking, declined rapidly. He'd struggled with alcohol since Monday Night Football's early days, with incidents like slurring Philadelphia as full, Lufia, in 1970, and vomiting on Meredith's boots during a live broadcast. By 1984, Al Michaels confronted him during a baseball playoff broadcast, saying, "You're ruining the expletive telecast." Cosell's drinking became as much a part of his legacy as his voice, a shadow that followed him. On December 8, 1980, Cosell faced one of his toughest moments. During a Monday Night Football game, he learned John Lennon had been shot. Urged by Gifford, he announced to millions, "This is just a football game," an unspeakable tragedy confirmed to us by ABC News. The silence that followed was deafening, a testament to his ability to shift from sports to seismic cultural moments. That night, he wasn't just a sportscaster. He was the voice that told America one of its greatest artists was gone, a moment that underscored the power of television to unite a nation in grief. Then came September 5, 1983. As Washington's Alvin Garrett darted through defenders, Cosell said, "That little monkey gets loose, doesn't he?" The reaction was instant. Phones at ABC lit up with complaints. By morning, newspapers, radio shows, and TV panels were dissecting the moment. Reverend Joseph Lowery of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference demanded an apology, highlighting the lack of black broadcasters and the racial insensitivity of the term. Cosell claimed he meant it affectionately, citing past uses for white athletes like Mike Adamel and even his grandchildren. He initially denied the exact phrasing, but tapes confirmed the words. Support came from surprising corners. Muhammad Ali, who shared a decades-long friendship with Cosell, Jesse Jackson, a civil rights leader, and Garrett himself, who said, "I didn't feel it was a demeaning statement." But public opinion had hardened. The media framed it as a racial slur, and Cosell's civil rights advocacy couldn't shield him from the backlash. The fallout was relentless. By the end of 1983, Cosell left Monday Night Football, citing the scandal and his growing disillusionment with the NFL commercialization. He continued radio work until 1992, but his television presence never recovered. In 1991, he was diagnosed with lung cancer, undergoing surgery as he grieved Emmy's death. Heart disease, Parkinson's, and strokes followed, each taking a toll. By 1992, he retired, a shadow of his former self, his once booming voice quieted. On April 23, 1995, Howard Cosell died of a heart embolism at 77. Obituaries were mixed. Some hailed him as a pioneer who made sports broadcasting smarter and bolder. Others lingered on his controversies, particularly that fateful night in 1983. His legacy endures, complex and contested. In 1993, TV Guide named him the all-time best sportscaster, a testament to his impact. He entered the Television Hall of Fame in 1994, though he was too ill to attend, and the International Boxing Hall of Fame in 2010. Recent posts on X reflect his enduring influence, with some praising his iconic calls like "Down Goes Frazier," and others debating his 1983 misstep. Cosell wasn't perfect. His ego, drinking, and that fateful comment marred his career. But he made sports broadcasting smarter, bolder, and more human. He stood for Ollie when no one else would, turned games into stories of triumph and struggle, and never shied from truth, even when it cost him everything. His voice still echoes, a reminder that words can change the world, for better or worse. So what's the final word on Howard Cosell? Love him or hate him, he was a force, a man who redefined sports, race, and media. His story challenges us to weigh his contributions against his flaws. Did his fearless advocacy, his bond with Ollie, and his transformation of broadcasting outweigh that one night in 1983? Or did those 6 words define him? The debate rages on, just as he'd have wanted. His life asks us to consider the power of standing for something, even when the cost is steep. Where do you stand on Howard Cosell's legacy? Share your thoughts, because this is one story that refuses to fade.